Welcome to this Killik Explains finance video. This week, how to save and invest, my 5 new guides, and importantly, how you can get hold of a copy. Now, just a bit of context and a little bit of an introduction. Why do we save and invest? Well, you'll have seen this before in some cases, but let's just recap. We don't do it in a vacuum, don't do it for the sake of it. We do it because we want choice, independence, security, and peace of mind. I expand on all of those in other videos. To sum that up, we all want to live well, we all want to leave a good legacy in most cases. Saving and investing gets us there. So, the master plan, if you like, is to look at the world in terms of investing as 3 distinct challenges, with quite a lot of detail missed out in this video, but to give you a flavour. Most of us need a rainy day fund which travels with us, all right? That is the emergency fund, that leaky roof, losing our job, getting sick. That covers us through those periods and stops us liquidating our long-term lifetime savings. That's the big fund we're trying to build to cover stopping work, post-retirement, and eventually funding care, all right? And that one is going to need to be a little bit at risk. In other words, we're going to need to take a little bit of risk, maybe invest heavily or exclusively in equities to get us to the point where we've got that fund. Unlike the rainy day fund, which will be in something much more liquid. And then along the way, we need to identify our key personal milestones. And these are personal, so these are just suggestions, sabbaticals, educating children, that's school, maybe private school, university, clearing mortgages, buying other properties, paying for weddings, retirement then comes at the end. So we need to make sure that we are identifying our foreseeable calls on capital and moving money into the right pots to cover them. So, the 5 guides then, with that in mind, here they are. The titles, how to invest in equities. Equities form quite a big part of the picture I just painted, so there's a guide just on those. Then, taking that timeline, if you like, how to save and invest for your family, that's the kind of earlier stage, if you like. How to build a retirement fund, potentially alongside that challenge. How to generate an income in retirement. So these two are 2 sides of the same coin, building that retirement fund, and then what do we do with it? How do we generate income once we're no longer earning a salary? And then finally, a guide that sort of sits alongside all of these, how to save and invest tax efficiently. Who are these aimed at? Novices for sure. They're jargon-free. They're written punchily, though I say so myself, and they're designed for people who are new, but also people who've got a bit more experience, but can't remember it all, or are not interested enough in it all, and just want a refresher and be able to dip in. So hopefully these guides serve those 2 purposes. Now, a snapshot of each one. Now clearly, you can obviously see the full thing, so it's just a snapshot to give you a flavour. How to invest in equities. Why would you want that thing? Well, basically you'll discover why we invest in equities, different ways to get exposure to shares, the pros and cons of doing it directly, single stocks, funds, exchange-traded funds, and so on. The pros and cons of active approaches. Do you need an investment manager versus passive? Could you just track the market, for argument's sake? The common investing pitfalls. We are human. We make mistakes. They can be expensive. What are they? How do you correct them? And how to pick shares and interpret key investing numbers. What is a P ratio? What's a PEG ratio? What's a dividend yield? Why are they important? All that good stuff. How to read the financial pages, if you like, towards the end. So there's guide number 1. Guide number 2, how to save and invest for your family, with the pink cover this time. So, the financial hurdles, and there are many, faced by young and older parents as they travel through the early years. All right, the different ways you can reduce those childcare costs. Who can you claim from? How much does the government pay? How do you weigh up those schemes? How to fund a private education, if that's the route you want to go down. And then, what about university? How good are student loans? Do they cover all the costs? What are the alternatives? All right, and then tax-effective ways to pass money down family generations. Something we should all be thinking about, and the rules actually, bit by bit, especially around things like pensions, are getting more and more helpful in that regard. So there's number 2. Now I've summarised a huge amount of work in there, but do grab a copy of the guide to find out more. Number 3, building a retirement fund, right? So this is why you're working potentially, running your own business, building that fund up, those lifetime savings. So how many ways are there to do it? Quite a few. So this guide weighs them up. ISAs, LISAs, pensions, okay, and the various types of pension. Why you can't rely on the state, and you mustn't rely on the state. Okay, the nuts and bolts of the different types of scheme available. What is a final salary scheme? What is the money purchase plan? How many different types of money purchase plan are there? What is a group personal pension versus a stakeholder pension? And so on. Auto-enrollment, what's all that about? And how to maximise the amount you save. People keep saying save more, save earlier, but how? Some clues in this guide. Then you get to retirement. Right, suddenly your income tap's turned off, So how do you maximize the pot to generate an income in retirement? So in here, the different ways to generate an income in retirement. And we do look at some other ways. We look at property, look at ISAs, look at pensions and so on. How pension freedom work? How much money can you take out age 55 for argument's sake? What are the pros and cons of taking out more or less? The best ways to approach income and capital drawdowns. Let's say you want to do a kind of DIY investment strategy. You don't want to buy an annuity, or maybe you do. How do you balance that up? How do you draw the right amount out so you don't run out of money, all right, but equally you don't sort of penalise yourself during your retirement years? And finally, common pitfalls and how to avoid them. All of that is in that guide around generating an income in retirement. And finally, the guide that kind of sits alongside all of these stages, how to save and invest tax efficiently. Now it is the nuts and bolts, but they're important nuts and bolts. So it's income and capital gains tax focused. How does that impact you as a saver or investor? Are there some simple ways you can reduce your tax bill? All right, between say you and a spouse, for argument's sake. How do the interest and dividend allowances work and how are they changing? That's quite important. And why ISAs and SIPPs make sense for many investors and the ins and outs of each one from a tax shelter perspective. Won't say any more about that guide at this point, but you get the idea as to what's covered there. Now, hopefully that's given you a rough idea as to what's in these 5 guides. If you'd like to know more, important address coming up, www.killik.com/, all one word, how to. All right. And if you'd like to see videos on some topics linked to those guides, then by all means dip into our library at killik.com/learn.